If you're tired of the rate shopping and saying, Steve, I'm pulling my hair out, I don't know what to do, give me a couple of ideas, tactics, and what to do, then you're in the right place. I'm Steve Kyles. This is a Loan Officer Leadership Podcast powered by the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And I am excited about this topic because it came up in the Loan Officer Breakfast Club this morning. And Carl White, we said, hey, we got to talk about this because here's what we know. There's a lot of pressure up and down. Like literally a month ago, rates are going down. This month, rates are going back up and then they're going down. And we're not talking about like a 0.25%, like a percent up, a percent down. Carl, what do? I just had a buyer send me their third loan estimate from another lender, and I just am at a loss. I don't know what to do, man. What do we do with that?
Yeah. And so I think let's clarify, first of all. So this is not about how do you keep them from shopping.
Correct.
We have
that,
another
we got a whole
episode.
series on that. Yeah.
We have a whole series on that. This is, they've already done it. I asked for the commitment. They said yes. Everything's going good.
I get my contract and they tell me they got three others.
Yep, we're 2 weeks into it. I've got most of their bank statements and their pay stubs in, and the processor got it, and the appraisal was ordered and maybe is already in. And then they text a picture of a loan estimate from a competitor, and they text it to me.
Whew.
What do I do now?
Hey, not only that, it happened to be in the 2 weeks the market dropped 0.5%. And they say, I mean, because that's the real life right now. It's like, hey, I just got a quote because my buddy at the water cooler told me he got 0.5% lower in rate. You know I'm going to have to leave, right? Here's what they sent me. What can you do?
Yeah.
That's a gut kick.
Yeah, gut kick. So, all right, man. So they just here, let me ask you a question. And maybe it's out of order, so stop me if it is. The question on Breakfast Club this morning was, how many times do you let them send you somebody else's loan estimate? I got one customer, let's call him, or let's pick a gender neutral name. It's Randy. Guy, girl, right? Doesn't matter, right? So I got Randy with a Y or Randy with an I. So Randy sends me over his or her loan estimate from somebody else, not once, not twice, but 3 times, maybe 4 times from different ones. When do you tap out? When do you say, is it too early in this discussion to talk about that?
No. Well, and hey, this is going to be multifaceted. So first thing I think about this is I don't let them send me 3 or 4. I say, hey, listen, as you're looking at the 3, send me the best.
No, okay. So they send me the best, and then we go, okay, we're good. And then 3 days later, they send me another best, a new best. How many? So we got 2 questions to ask here. And I'll write them down so we get back to it. So
it's it's a little tricky too, because if we're 5 days out, it's less of a struggle because I know most sellers are not extending. But like if we're 5 days out from closing, here's the deal. We have to use freight. Like this is where you pull out your tools in your tool belt. And you say, hey, a lender's failure to perform will cost you thousands of dollars. And in a hyper competitive market where inventory is low, if you back out and miss the closing, the seller is not required to extend and your earnest money is at risk. So I try to create hey, in the 5 pillars of like the bottom piece is safety and security. I want to tap into that safety and security. Is your money safe? Are you secure? Hey, I know you were sent something, but there may not be enough time to act on it and you could lose money. So I'm going to go that route first. But if it's, hey, we just went under contract, they sent it to me and we're only the first few days in, how many do I let them send to me? Carl, I don't know. How many like for me, I would say this, like if they say, hey, I'm going to shop around, I would try to cut the argument. What do you shop for? I saw lower rates. Great. Then to make this a real comparison, take the 3 and send me the best. Because I can't keep overcoming a whole bunch. Yeah, well, I got one today, one the next day, one the next day. I don't know. How would you do it? I'd love to hear yours first.
So for me, and maybe we ought to talk about what do you do when it happens first and then get into the number, but just answer the question. For me, if they send me over 1, which happens, I don't know, 20% of the time.
I would agree. Like
yeah. 80%, this doesn't happen, 20%. So we got everybody shopping me. No, they're not. It's about 20%.
That's right.
If it's everybody, you got a bad source of referrals. You
don't have enough.
You don't have enough. Yeah,
that's right.
So for me, I quoted you the rate, Steve, or Randy. I quoted the rate to Randy, and show what it cost. And Randy shook his or her head yes, shook my hand, said we got a deal.
Yep.
And then 3 days later, they send me over a loan estimate from a competitor.
Yep.
Um, I'll look at mine and see if I can sharpen my pencil. And if I
Yep.
can, I will. And if I can't, I won't. But
Yeah.
let's say I could. Let's say I
Yep.
could. I sharpened my pencil a little bit, and they shook my hand. Yep, okay, we're good now. And then 2 days later, they do it again. I'm tapping out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm tapping out. So for me, but let me tell you why I'm tapping out. Because I
Okay.
have an apple orchard
Talk about
full.
this.
I have an apple orchard full of apples. I think the biggest problem loan officers have is they get in the mode of desperation. I've
Mm,
got to save this one deal because it's the only deal they have, figuratively speaking, and maybe
right.
literally
Right.
speaking.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about this morning on Breakfast Club, I got this picture of walking through an apple orchard.
Yeah.
And if I'm walking through in my backyard, I've got an apple orchard and it's loaded with apples. It's loaded with realtor referrals,
Yeah.
right? And those realtor referrals, those apples are coming in, and I value each and every one.
Yep.
Right, none of them's going to waste.
Yep.
None of them's hitting the ground. But I've got apples. The trees are full. There's apples everywhere, right? And I appreciate that, right? Because I planted a bunch of seeds.
You did the
I
selling.
I, I
Yep.
fertilized. I made sure I was in a good location that has
Yep.
that can grow apples, right?
Yep.
So I can go in my backyard and grab all the apples I want to. And if one apple starts to go rogue, or even if one tree starts to give sour apples, we can get rid of that tree. I've got 39 others, and now I'll
Yeah.
focus on replacing that one. Where the problem I think often happens is most loan officers, they've got one apple tree. It's bent over. It looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. It's got one apple hanging from it.
Yeah.
And they're spending all their time trying to save that one apple because it's the only one they've got. And I understand that. I've been there, right? I'm not faulting anybody for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you is the time you spend trying to save that one deal, I'd spend that time trying to go get my next 10.
That's right.
And because which is more likely to happen. Because I tell you, and you might be better at this than me, Stephen. I'm not just saying that, like you literally might be better at it. I find that when I get somebody shopping me for the second time, the amount of times that I know all the scripts, right? I've heard them all,
Yeah.
and I've used
100%.
most of them, right?
Yep.
As our listeners, you probably know all the scripts, but even with the best scripts, even with showing them this chart and that chart and everything else, about 80% of my shoppers, once they're holding a better LE, which
Yeah.
100% of them could find a better LE, just be honest, right? It could. But when somebody finds a better LE and I sharpen my pencil at one time and they still shopping me again, I probably retain. This morning I said 20%. It's probably less than that. It's probably almost none.
Yeah.
And I'll just tap out and I'll focus on the next one. But because of that is why our teams, you and my teams collectively, we do
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds
Yeah.
of loans a month.
Yeah.
Is because of that. So I don't want anybody to understand to get the message that one doesn't matter. It matters, but
Yeah.
I can't focus all my attention on that one dying apple to
Mm-hmm.
lose the whole apple orchard or to keep me from planting seeds for next season.
Yeah. Hey,
And
you know
so,
why though, Carl?
tell
Hey,
me.
dude, this is so rich. Couple of things. The reason why you have to let it go and move instead of fight and lose, you know what it does?
Tell
It's
me.
the difference of getting bitter or better. How
Mm,
many times do you hear somebody saying, dude, this is the third time in 2 months it's happened to me? And it's easy to go down this trail of
mm,
bitter versus better. And Carl, we said that earlier. You asked me on the spot this morning. You said, what's your percentage if they're shopping you retain? I said probably 25%. I was thinking about that. I think it's probably 18 to 22, probably more like 20. And the reason why is this: 10% of your shoppers, Carl, they're engineers. They are designed to shop. They are intuitively built. There's an ethnicity or there's a type or a style like an engineer, and you're only gonna get 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 if you're really, really good. So what you've got to do is just realize there's a percentage of people that are going to shop. You'll never stop it. And the more I fight against that percentage, hey, I'm going to get 100% of my clients not to shop. You're fighting against a losing battle because personality wise, it's not even, you can't even, it's not possible.
mm.
And so I think number one, we got to understand the percentages. If you're getting shopped 20 to 30% of the time, 30%, I'd work on my conversion. I'd work on my rebuttals. I'd work on my process. Maybe I called them at a late time. I didn't call them on time. I wasn't clear about a process. There's things in your conversion you can increase to get it to about 20% or less or shopping. But
Mhm.
that's why it's so important to measure your numbers, because you're fighting a battle and you think you're the problem, and it's not you, it's the percentages, which you'll never change. So number
Mhm.
one, you got to know 20, 30%, you may be in a great market, only 10% shop. But I would say that's a good range. 10 to 30%, you're high, work on it. Low, you got it going. Second thing is this: once they say they're going to shop, Carl, how many times does this happen? Hey, I send you an LE and I send you another LE and you sharpen the pencil again. And the day before closing, they send you one more. Carl, what can you do on it? I just got one. I know we're closing tomorrow at 8 a.m. Like, I'm not doing that. You got it or don't close. We're good.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's a rabbit hole you'll never get out of. So I love
yeah.
that. You just stand your ground. Hey, and I would say this, like when I get a loan estimate from somebody else, I be real cool about it. Like I never talk bad about the lender, but there are a couple things you could do. Typically, where you'll find the biggest error is in escrows. Like especially in Texas, taxes are high, insurance is high, and somebody will miss escrow estimates by literally $5,000 to $10,000. The only way I can win that deal is not to bang on the lender, but to say, hey,
Mm,
they've miscalculated escrows by $6,000. That's the foundation of what we do in our industry. If they miss that, are you concerned you're going to have other mistakes that cost you money? That's probably the most effective way I've won pulling against multiple LEs. But then I got to get them to commit. And if we move forward, I'm going to take money right now for the appraisal, because you find if they pay more money for the appraisal, they typically stop shopping. And then I'm
mm.
going to do my best to hold them the rest of the way. But it is literally when they're shopping, we may get 1 to 2 out of 10. So,
Yeah, yeah. And but you made something I want to make sure everybody got, which I think is the most important part of all this is be cool, don't
yes,
throw rocks.
yes,
So don't well fine then, Debbie, you go. I think you ought to go somewhere else.
yeah.
Don't do that, right? Don't do that because they're not attacking you. Don't attack them. So be cool, don't throw rocks because you want to make it. We do get a fair percentage that when they do shop and they do switch over, things
Mm-hmm.
don't go right, and then we end up getting that back.
Can I say something to that? Let
I
me
mean,
say, okay. So here's the strategy. In anybody listening, you can Google this online. 88 things that go wrong on a loan transaction, and it's there's a great infographic. You can pull it up. Just Google it anywhere. I always love to do this, and I say, hey, listen, Mister, this is Randy. Hey, Randy, I just want to say first off, thank you for the opportunity. Completely get that you got to go shop. I always ask him to do, I tell him three things. Hey, would you make sure and tell the realtor I took great care of you? Why? Because that's where I get the majority of my business. So just make sure you tell him I did a great job and I took care of you. Number two is this: hey, Randy, what I typically find is look, I'm going to keep your loan file open. I'm not going to close it because there's more than 88 things that can go wrong on a transaction. If one of those things is moved out of place or out of order, it literally could derail the whole transaction. And here's the third thing. So it's I want to the third thing is we typically find the transaction unravels. I'm dropping a seed between 7 and 10 days. And everybody listening, what happens 7 to 10 days in? The appraisal's not ordered, and or Randy, they've asked you for that bank statement for the fourth time. And when they ask you for that bank statement for the fourth time, that needs to be a red flag that there may be a challenge in going all the way through to closing, because here's the script: a lender's failure to perform will cost you thousands of dollars. If a mistake is made, you're the one that pays, not the lender. So if at any point you feel like it's unraveling, just call me back. I'd love the opportunity to help you all the way through to closing. And that's it. So number one, tell the agent I took great care of you. Number two, 88 things that could go wrong. Number three, 5 to 7 days, 7 to 10 days, whatever you want to say, it starts to unravel. List the things that are are going to happen. They didn't get the appraisal ordered. They've asked for the bank statement for the third time. If it starts to get shaky, a lender's failure to perform will cost you thousands. Call me back. I'd love to get you through closing, because we're closing loans in our branch. Literally, we just closed, I don't know. It was something like 21% of our loans closed in less than 10 days, Carl. So it's like that's where you can put your proof statement in. Hey, we closed 15 loans or whatever your number is in 14 days. So if you need a save a deal, we can help you with that. And all you're doing is planting seed. And I'd say out of that, we probably get 2 people out of 10 come back,
That
but we drop the seed in the right way.
and that's about the same week C2 is about 20%, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you did, I want to make sure everybody caught that because it's really good stuff. What you did was you made it very cool for them to come back. You didn't like, well, fine, go somewhere else. Well,
Yeah.
then if it didn't work out, they're going to go to yet another person. So make it so, hey, I'm going to keep your file open. I
Yep.
completely understand.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. You
Yep.
have any questions, you call me back. It's totally cool. In the same situation, it's likely I might would do the same thing.
Yep.
And so I'm like you. I'm still on the same team.
That's
We're
right.
okay. I tell you something else too. I get referrals from these people.
Yeah.
Even if they close somewhere else,
Yes.
I get great referrals from these
Yes.
people.
Hey,
And
and
so
they also become a raving fan to that agent, which remember the agent's your apple tree.
yeah,
So that's why it's like you can't throw rocks. Used to, Carl, I remember getting so mad. I was like, well, to heck with, like, I remember one time I almost wanted to cuss the guy out. And, and I'm like, that doesn't work well. And what I learned was it was because I got bitter, not better. And what I realized is I'll get more because he's not the source. The agent's the source.
yeah.
Because if you're frustrated and you're ugly, they'll go back to that agent and say, dude, Carl cussed at me on the way out.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Don't ever
dude,
do that.
well, I can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
it's such a, you got to remember, we're going after apple trees. He's just an apple. They're just an apple. So not in
Yeah.
a bad way, but okay.
Good stuff.
I like
So
it.
so what do I do now, Steve?
We go get more. It was funny. The phrase on the Loan Officer Breakfast Club this morning was get another. And you say it all the time. Let's just go get Mo. If you're struggling with the rate shoppers, and first off, if I'm saying I get shopped on every deal, I would challenge you to look at your numbers because that's not the real percentage.
Mhm.
If you measure the last 10, it was probably 10 to 30% that shopped you. And if it was more, Carl, you got to learn the process. And here's what I tell you from your initial phone call to your how I do sales fulfillment, what happens when the phone rings to my lock-in handoff call to the back end. We've built literally what you and I use in our branch to see the success. We literally have mapped out how do I remove the anxiety and the uncertainty so that my conversion's high? Because
Mhm.
some of us that are listening, you may say, hey, listen, I'm getting shopped a lot more. I would bet it's because of how the phone's being answered, your process to literally walking them through a very smooth and flawless process. It's your commitment to do what you're saying you're going to do. And Carl, we can help them with it. Matter of fact, we'll give you screenshots of what we've done in our sales fulfillment so that you could try to reduce the fallout or the shopping. So if you're losing more than 10 to 30%, I'd say it's a process issue, and we'll give it to you at freedomplanningcall.com. We'll walk you through what Carl and I are doing in our branches to see converting or people converting at a high level. Freedomplanningcall.com. Book in with me, Carl, Kristen, one of us. We'll literally pull it up on a computer. So make sure you're not driving, and you could screenshot it. Okay, show me what I do the first call, when they answer the phone, and the lock-in handoff call, so I can convert more. So number one, see how many you're actually losing. If it's high, look, we can help you with it. Number two, if it's in 10 to 30%, go get more because you're not going to change the numbers. Just go get more.
Go get more. Getting more just solves all problems.
That's it. Freedomplanningcall.com. Hey, and we got so many cool tools in our membership where you and I go through, golly, we've got some of the scripts. We put our top 5 scripts that helped you and I convert. It's what is it? The top 5 buyer objections, and it's for all of our members. And we've already done it. Carl, it's like I don't know, well, we the other day it was like $2,900 value. And we give that to our members inside of what we've done. Because Carl, it's what you and I are already doing. How do I overcome the top 5 objections? So you can even ask the team that, freedomplanningcall.com. It's super cool. We'll show you what we're doing, convert more. Don't be nervous about rate shoppers. Get another. Anything else, Carl?
Man, I think we got it here, brother. Just yeah, sharpen your scripting and go get more.
That's it. Hey, anything worth doing badly, just get started. See ya.